Hello, my loves. Welcome to Pain to Joy. My name is Danielle Sutty, and I want to say a huge thank you for being here with me today. How's your heart today? Mine feels very thankful. I had a big adventure last week, and I can't wait to speak about it in future episodes. But today I want to talk about a massive opportunity I've had. And it goes along with something that I often talk about, which is pay attention to the synchronicities in your life, and everything is happening for you. Often when I mention things happening for you, even the most painful experiences, sometimes people flinch and wonder what I could possibly mean. I'm going to try my best to explain a story of how I ended up getting to live out a dream less than a month ago. And even though getting there involved PAIN, it feels really magical and really wonderful, and I could not be more thankful. I have been wanting to for years to be able to share and to help people who experience PAIN or people who care for people who experience PAIN. And I feel that this podcast was one way to do that. Another way I feel that I would be able to serve and be helpful is to speak to small groups and large groups. And for a long time, I've envisioned myself doing that all over the world. And I hope that that dream continues to come true. As I've mentioned in previous episodes, the beginning of this year, I had nearly daily migraines in January. I also had some serious PAIN in a knee from an injury a long time ago. And when I discovered either in January or February that I had some really great physiotherapy coverage, I started researching physiotherapists in my area because driving can be challenging when the migraines come on full force. And I researched different places. There are multiple physiotherapists within a 2-minute, 5-minute, 10-minute walking radius of my home. And I landed on Intrinsi, and I'm so thankful and I'm so glad that I did. Rather than choose my practitioner online because there were so many choices and everyone seemed like they were wonderful, I walked over and I started chatting with one of the receptionists who was so lovely and so kind and so warm and friendly and welcoming. And on that very day, one of the physiotherapists came out and we had a quick chat. And it was decided that she would be the best fit for me. And boy, was she ever. I have been so blessed and so thankful. Her name is Christy. And I'm so lucky because she has an interest in her practice in persistent pain, in pain management, and she has been studying and learning all of the latest research and information to best help her patients. And because of that, she was able to help set up a program for my knee, but she also referred me to a fellow physiotherapist in the clinic. Her name is Melissa, and she specializes more in patients who experience concussion recovery. And although I would have had a severe concussion when the accident happened in 2010, I still experienced symptoms that you would find in post-concussion syndrome. And it seemed like the right idea for me to go and see her. And both of those practitioners were so incredibly kind and dedicated, so helpful for me at a time that was very challenging. And I mentioned it before that this year has been challenging mentally, physically, spiritually, probably the most challenging year I've ever experienced in my 46 years on this planet. And I could not be more thankful for both of their care, dedication to my recovery, reaching out if I hadn't been there for a while, seeing how my brain retraining program was going that I had embarked upon. Just stellar practitioners and unbelievably wonderful, warm, caring human beings. And it's through Christy who I reconnected with a former physio of mine who I saw for years. He is an incredible practitioner and researcher and Christy had mentioned she had done a lunch and learn with him, and bells went off in my head. I thought, oh, I used to see Ashley. Maybe I will contact him to see if he wouldn't mind seeing me, to see if I'm on the right track in this program that I had embarked upon. And I would have never thought to connect with him if it hadn't been for Christy. So huge heartfelt thank you. And so on a Friday night, I ended up finding Ashley on LinkedIn, and I wrote him how it's been the last few years, because it's been a long time since I've seen him. And he said that he had been out of the country at that moment, but that he would be happy to see me when he came back. And then about a week after that, I got a message from him asking if I would be interested in being the speaker with lived experience in pain at the Alberta Society for Pain Conference this October. And when I say that I was stunned, shocked, and also thrilled, how wonderful. I had written down in early January, when I had moments of lucidity and ability to be creative and to write down my intentions and my goals, I had written down that I would do a minimum of 2 speaking engagements this year. So I thought it was pretty amazing that I was asked to do this when I had intentionally set out to have speaking opportunities this year. And I saw it as such a massive opportunity to be able to share my experience. I'm not someone who's great with, if you give me a theme, for example, I might feel pigeonholed in that theme. So if there was a night at a bar to tell stories, but the theme is trees, I love trees. I could tell you a bunch of stories about trees, but if you give me a topic, I struggle to talk about it. And so luckily what had happened was I said yes to Ashley, and then I just sat and I wrote notes. How would I want the people in attendance of this conference to feel? What would I want their takeaways to be? What are the top most important things that I would want to impart upon them after the last 15 years of my PAIN journey? And then as I was finishing that, Ashley came back and said, okay, this is the plan. The afternoon is going to be about trauma-informed care. If you could maybe talk a little bit about this or a little bit about this, but also he was very kind to say that he did not want to overstep and that I could absolutely speak about whatever made the most sense for me. But he did sort of give me a bit of a structure. So I'm so glad that I had taken those notes beforehand so I could get everything down and reflect upon how I would want to express myself and how I would want the audience to feel and what the takeaways would be for them in October. And although I had started taking notes back in March, and my intention was to write the speech and practice it over and over and over again over the summertime, best laid plans, I ended up having some PAIN experiences this fall that led me to really only preparing in the last 2 or 3 weeks prior to the speech date. And I'm incredibly proud of myself because through a fall, injuring my hand, having a lot of migraines, I was still able to focus and just shut out all the rest of the noise in my life. And my process was, I took the notes that I had taken, I reflected, and I talked to text a speech the weekend of Thanksgiving. And then I woke up the next day and I thought, that doesn't sound like a talk. That sounds more like a book. And luckily I was able to chat with some friends over Thanksgiving who reminded me of what was important, who reminded me that there was no way that I would be able to have time to have visuals, because that was something that I had thought about, but I had left it too late. And over that week, I had 4 different versions of this talk. And the final one came to me on the Friday morning. The talk was on Saturday at 1 or 1:20 p.m. And I woke up on the Friday morning around 5:30 and I talked into my phone. And that was the 20 minutes that I would then be able to share. And I truly believe, although my intention was to be way more prepared way earlier, little things happened that wouldn't have been included if I hadn't had that final iteration created that Friday morning. And so I'm incredibly thankful. And one of those things was that I happened to check out TikTok on the Thursday night, and there was a woman who lived in British Columbia and had just settled a personal injury case. And it took me back to the day, July 4th, 2019, where my case had finally settled after 9 years. And I thought, there's a piece missing in this talk. There's a piece missing that needs to be said. And so as much as I wish that I would have practiced all summer and been able to speak completely off by heart, I truly believe that seeing this woman share and typing into the chat to congratulate her sparked something in me to realize, recognize, and acknowledge that there was a little piece missing. And I would be doing a disservice to myself and to anyone who has been through an accident experience and a litigation legal experience. And so I'm so thankful that although it didn't get finished when I thought that it might, it was perfect. And I was able to be present when I was speaking. I was able to be real and be human. And anyway, you'll hear it in a few minutes. But I'm just so thankful that I allowed myself to go through the creative process, to have some people in my life really help me and encourage me. And that, again, I just had to hyper focus on doing this because the PAIN experience was trying to sidetrack me and I didn't let it. So I'm very proud of myself. And I really wanted to be prepared for this opportunity. I really wanted to speak from the heart, but also I had originally a 30-minute time limit that turned into a 20-minute time limit. And if you know me personally, I'm the queen of long story long. And it was such a feat for me to take the information that I wanted to share, make it impactful, and pare down all of the information, 15 years of information that I wanted to share in 20 minutes. As challenging as it was, that became a celebration for me because I was, in fact, able to choose 3 things that I wanted to share that were very important to me, very helpful on my healing journey, and things I feel would be helpful for doctors, dentists, chiropractors, kinesiologists, physiotherapists to know when they are helping and treating and caring for their patients who experience PAIN and persistent PAIN. And I am filled with an immense amount of gratitude for every step along my journey. It's not fun or enjoyable to experience migraine after migraine, to experience the knee pain I was experiencing, but what a gift to have come in contact with Christy, with Melissa, with the incredible receptionists, some of whom have become friends from Intrinsi, just incredible, caring human beings. I'm so glad that my heart led me there, that I followed my intuition, and then through that, I was reconnected with Ashley, who was a huge part of my healing journey over the years. Someone who is so kind and so wonderful, and he really helped me years ago, and again now. I could have never known that I would have this opportunity through him, through the Alberta Pain Society. What a gift. And I often talk about how pain is a gift for us to learn from, even when it can be awful. And for me, this is a culmination of 15 years of me being able to impart some little gems, hoping that what I shared will have small or maybe big ripple effects in the world. But I felt so honored and so privileged to stand in a room with practitioners who care, who want to improve their patients' quality of life, their experience with PAIN. Thank you from my whole heart to Ashley and Christy who were there that day. Thank you for welcoming me. Thank you for giving me a sense of belonging and lifting me up and helping me feel calm. Thank you for being front and center, both of you at different tables in the crowd, because it was really wonderful to be able to see your faces and to thank you personally. Christy was the real MVP of the day because she took so many videos, which I'm so thankful for. And oh my goodness, I didn't even get to touch upon the incredible opportunity, not only the talk, but being able to sit on my first panel with Ashley and Elizabeth and Lisa. And I can't wait to talk more about that another time. So thank you from my whole heart for the opportunity and for being there, supporting me with your smiles and your vibes and your encouragement. So I will share now a little bit of a rusty version. Thank you to my friend Crystal who bumped up the sound. I placed my telephone on the table when I went up to speak. And I'm so thankful that I can share my speech, my talk with all of you. May it resonate. May it serve. Can't wait to hear how it lands for you. Thank you for being here with me on this journey. Thank you to every single person in my life who loves me through it, who is patient, who is kind, who is loving. Thank you to all of the care practitioners that I have seen in the last 15 years. I appreciate you, and to all of you who are dedicated to improve the quality of life of your patients, to improve your own quality of life by caring deeply for yourself, to help you better care for others. Thank you from my whole heart. Here is Pain to Joy. You are more powerful than you realize. Imagine a world where your patient with the most intense, persistent pain leaves their time with you with a smile, feeling optimistic, hopeful, and peaceful. Not because they are cured or healed, not because they're free of experiencing intense pain, but because of the tools that you have shared with them and the effectiveness of the time that you have just had together. I believe that this world is not only possible, this is a world that I have been living in thanks to compassionate care providers and some tools that I will share with you here today. When I was a passenger in a car accident back in 2010, I had no idea at the time how much it would impact my life. That day, I was diagnosed with sideways whiplash, soft tissue damage, and ligament damage. It was only 3 weeks later that I found out that my sternum had in fact been broken in the accident, which is why I was in so much pain. Later, I experienced costochondritis, bursitis, nerve pain, and eventually I developed central sensitization. It was 2 years post-accident when I started having migraines, vertigo, brain fog, difficulty concentrating, and even speaking. And that was the first time that I had to take a leave from my job. A job that was not just a job for me. It was a vocation. It was a love of my life. I was a high school language teacher here in Calgary, and I loved every minute of my students and my colleagues. I loved sharing my love of travel and language learning and grammar and culture and food and my passion for life every day. And although I did get back to it for a short time, I have not set foot in the classroom since the fall of 2015. It has been 10 years since I have been with the students I love, doing what I love. When Ashley Smith generously asked me if I would speak to all of you months ago, I was not only thrilled, I was honored. Speaking in front of people used to be my wheelhouse. This is a place where I feel most alive. So I want to thank all of you for the gift and the privilege and the honor it is for me just to look out at all of you. Thank you. In the past 15 years, I have tried hundreds of things, from mirror therapy to physiotherapy, counseling, somatics, breath work, acupuncture, inner work, osteopathy, Botox, various medications, nerve blocks, a ketogenic diet, and meditation. I've always been keen to try whatever might help me lead a life more free of pain. I've experienced thousands of things that have impacted my experience as a human and my pain experience. And as you might imagine, for me to narrow down 15 years into 20 minutes has been extremely challenging. So I've chosen 3 things that I want to share with you today that have been incredibly helpful on my healing journey.
As mentioned, after the car accident, it wasn't clear how severe it was at the time. I was experiencing extreme physical pain, and I was just thinking, well, this is just how it is. I wasn't getting good pain relief, I wasn't getting good pain management, and for years post-accident, I would wake up every morning with a feeling of panic, feeling like I couldn't catch my breath, feeling like there was an elephant sitting there. And I just attributed that to the physical pain. I didn't think about the fact that this plan that I had pre-accident to live and work in Australia got cut short, that I was now 31 years old, living back in my parents' basement, which I really didn't want to do. I was only able to work a little bit, so I worked in the morning. I would come home and sleep for hours. I would prep my classes, go to bed, and do it all over again. Little by little, my social life began to be impacted. And over time, being around people that I loved, going to birthday parties, family gatherings, spending time with friends became more and more difficult. Another thing that I loved was slowly starting to be taken away from me. Yet, I was so thankful for the life that I did have, but I didn't realize I needed to grieve the life that I had before the accident. Thankfully, around that time, I was connected with Debbie Patterson, a physiotherapist who worked with people who experienced persistent pain. She introduced me to the concept of grief journaling. Debbie introduced me to the concept of grief journaling. Sorry, that's going to drive me crazy. So my brain can't handle the distraction. Thank you. And it's no big deal. Things happen. Debbie introduced me to grief journaling, and I could talk to you all day about grief journaling, so if you're not familiar, I will give you the gist. You pick the same spot at the same time every day. You set a timer, and you write and you scream if you need to, but you write all the anger and all the sadness and all the frustration that's been living inside of you. You write down all the things that you felt that you lost from before the pain began, before the diagnosis, before your loved one died. You let it all out, and when the timer stops, you stop. And then you put it away until the next day. When I would grief journal, I would also put up post-it notes on my bathroom mirror, post-it notes in my car, post-it notes all over my condo that said, "You have had your time, my love. You have already grieved today. We can pick it back up again tomorrow." This was a practice I did every day for months, and this was something that little by little allowed me to stop spending every moment of my day bogged down by pain, feeling heartbroken and disconnected from this life that I no longer got to live. I truly believe that grieving and grief journaling was the beginning of me focusing less on the pain and more on looking forward with hope to start to be able to see the possibilities of this life that lay ahead of me. The next practice that I want to share with you that is integral in me being able to live a life full of more freedom and more joy, even when there's pain, is a mindful self-compassion practice. I did an online course in 2016 with Brene Brown and Kristen Neff. Unfortunately, it no longer exists, but in this course, I learned the difference between grief and shame. I learned the importance of self-forgiveness and forgiving others. I learned 3 elements of self-compassion, which are mindfulness over self-identification, common humanity versus isolation. Because losing a life that you knew and loved and living a life of pain can be incredibly isolating. And self-kindness versus self-judgment. As I began to learn about self-compassion, I began to slowly befriend this body that I was now living in that so often felt and still feels like a stranger, and at that time, like an enemy. I learned to become my own best friend. Nowadays, a life of hustle and pushing through is something that I did for years, which when I tried to get back to teaching because I loved it so much, this life of hustle seems to be celebrated in our culture. But what I've learned from the teachings of self-compassion is that tough love doesn't work. Even though we might feel like it's motivating to push ourselves and to push through, it's actually more motivating to be kind and gentle with ourselves. Self-compassion has helped me immensely. It has become something from which I find much of my purpose. I now share self-nourishing, self-love, and self-compassion practices online and through my podcast, Pain to Joy. I truly believe that when we learn to be more loving and more kind and more compassionate to ourselves, there's so much more ease in our capacity to be more loving and kind and empathetic to everyone around us. Some of you here might already have your own self-compassion practice, and kudos if you do. I practice it every day, and even though I was always a very positive person and super optimistic, like the most optimistic person I know, it has up-leveled my self-talk, it has made it more positive, and it has improved my relationship with myself and with every single human I come into contact with. So on this lovely Saturday afternoon where I can imagine some of you might be a little bit weary, I would love to move through a brief mindful self-compassion practice or break with all of you right now. So if you want to just put your pens and pencils in. And only if you feel comfortable, but please feel free to join in. I invite you to close down your eyes if it feels comfortable for you. And if it also feels comfortable, take a deep, low breath into the belly and a long exhale. I invite you to call to mind something that is stressful in your life, a problem, something that you find challenging. Start to become aware of how that feels in your body and where you might feel it in your body. This first step is just being mindful and aware that this is a challenge for you. And if we weren't all here together, these next few bits you would do out loud, but I would invite you with your eyes closed to speak silently to yourself, to your beautiful heart, your beautiful brain, and say to yourself, this is challenging. This is a moment of suffering. It's okay to feel whatever you're feeling. I'm here with you. And the next step, with our eyes still closed, we will move into common humanity, reminding ourselves that it is human to feel pain. It is human to experience problems and challenges. And you might quietly remind yourself, you are not alone. I often tell myself whilst practicing, I'm here with you. You are not alone. You are safe. I'm here to hold you and remind you that you're going to be okay. The final step, eyes still closed, is to bring yourself some self-kindness, saying to yourself quietly in your mind something that you might say to a best friend if they were experiencing a challenge. I often say to myself, you will get through this. You are not alone. I am here with you. This too shall pass. You are doing the best that you can, and your best changes day by day, moment by moment. I love you. I love you so much. Your eyes still closed, I invite you to take a moment. Do you feel anything that may have shifted in your body, that may have shifted your mindset? Before we open our eyes, feel free to give yourself a hug. I'm doing it too. Maybe wrap your arm. If it feels good for you, place your hand on your heart. And let let's all take one last deep breath low into the belly and a long exhale. Slowly opening up your eyes. Thank you. Thank you for being open to practicing with me. Self-compassion allows me to roll with life's challenges, especially unpredictable pain flares and intense migraines, with so much ease and so much comfort. Self-compassion allows me to respond versus react. It reminds me that I'm human and that I'm much more capable of giving other people grace and compassion because they're just being human too. I truly believe that if all of us practiced self-compassion and scheduled more mindful self-compassion breaks throughout our days, the world would be a more loving and a more kind place to be. And just by me practicing, and you practicing, and you practicing, this has ripple effects in the world. And it creates a world where we all feel more free to be our authentic selves. Before I continue with the final experience that I'll be sharing today, the pièce de résistance that I feel has been most helpful in my journey of the past 15 years, I would be remiss if I didn't take this opportunity to mention something that was incredibly detrimental to my healing, which was being in legal proceedings for 9 years following the accident in 2010. My legal proceedings started in 2011, but it became clear that the car accident was impacting my life more greatly than we originally realized, so I connected with a lawyer. Contrary to grief journaling, which was so helpful in releasing hurt and grief and pain, I was asked to write my symptoms down on a calendar every day for years, and I would write them down, and I wouldn't write them like they were no big deal. I would write them with such intensity and fervor, because when I would go to discovery to be questioned, when I would be seen by doctors, when I would be seen by doctors and occupational therapists and physiotherapists and psychologists on the other side, I would constantly be met with disbelief. I will never forget the looks on the faces of these practitioners. They would scrunch up their faces, they would roll their eyes, they would act as though the pain that I was sharing, that I was experiencing, wasn't real, that I was just making it up. I felt as though I was being gaslit when I was sent to a kinesiologist at one point. They gave me a list of 10 exercises and said, if you just do these exercises, I'll miraculously get better and all of my symptoms will disappear. I don't have trauma from the car accident. I have trauma from the legal proceedings. The feeling of not being believed or heard was demoralizing and awful. Having the truth of my experience be ignored had me feeling small and worthless. And I won't even get into the depths of the financial stress. As someone who has experienced persistent pain that has stolen so much from me and the life that I knew and loved, moving through legal proceedings had me living a life in fear. Fear that I would lose my home. Constant fear of being watched because I was told that I was being surveilled. So even on a day where I felt good enough to go out and enjoy myself, I couldn't. Because I always felt like I was being watched. I was always looking over my shoulder. I will go to places now and I will revel in the fact that I don't have to do that anymore. Luckily, I learned tools and practices to shift from living a life of fear into living a life of love and inner peace. And unfortunately, I don't have time to share all of those with you here today. But what I can and will say is that I cannot imagine that the stress and experiences of those 9 years were beneficial or helpful for the pain or my healing. As we move into the final tool that has helped me heal, I want to extend my heartfelt gratitude with all of you. I am deeply thankful for every single one of you here. You have chosen a profession where you hold the hands of people every day when they're in their darkest moments. I know in my heart that you've chosen to do this because you want to help, because you care, and because you have a deep desire to improve the quality of life of your patients. Thank you. I acknowledge you and I honor you, because the jobs that you do aren't just jobs. It's a vocation. So I mentioned earlier that when Ashley asked me to speak today, months ago, I couldn't have known at the time that this would be the most physically, mentally, and spiritually challenging year I've ever had. In May of this year, I went to see my GP, and I'm very lucky that I've been seeing her on and off since I was 12. I had the most raw, vulnerable, real conversation I've ever had with a care practitioner, and I shared how challenging my life and my health has been. As I sat in my doctor's office and I shared the truth of how much I was struggling, my doctor did not rush me. She did not scrunch up her face in disbelief. She did not interrupt me. She listened. She listened with presence, and she listened with love. She heard me. And when I finished sharing, tears rolling down my face, snot coming out of my nose, she passed me a Kleenex. And when she shared her advice and a treatment plan with me, I heard her. Because I felt seen and because I felt loved. Years ago, I went to a Toastmasters club called Miracles with a bunch of amazing humans, and one of them was named Esperanza. Esperanza in English means hope. And she would always say, listening is loving. Listening is loving. What I know to be true is that all human beings ever want is to be listened to, is to be heard, to feel understood, and to feel like they belong. That day in May, my doctor's compassionate listening presence saved my life. And so did so many other people who have so compassionately treated me and listened to me over the last few years and this year. And some of those people in this room today, thank you. Thank you for leaving everything at the door when you came into that treatment room. Thank you for treating me like I was the only person in the world. Thank you for not only listening, but for hearing me. Because just like if a friend tells me a story 20 times, I'm not going to say stop telling me your story. Because we only stop telling our stories when we're healed. And we heal much more quickly if people hear us and understand us the first time. I will continue to come back to grief journaling every time I need to surrender to and accept my pain journey over and over again, because it is a journey and it is a practice. And I'm not always going to be in acceptance of my life that has been so altered by pain. I will always practice self-compassion because I know that it makes me a more mindful, loving, caring human. And it helps me hold myself and nourish myself and love myself in life's most challenging and painful moments. And I truly hope that I continue to connect with caring practitioners like the ones that I've been blessed with this past year. Humans who are able to hold their own pain with care and compassion, and who are able to hold mine as well. There's a quote by Gabor Mate that says, all of Western medicine is built on getting rid of pain, which is not the same as healing. Healing is actually the capacity to hold pain. Healing is the capacity to hold pain. May we all learn more ways to hold pain with love, with kindness, and with compassion, so that we can all live more joyful, peaceful lives. I believe that this is possible. I believe that we are all capable if we learn to hold ourselves in compassion and nourish ourselves first. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. Thank you to the Pain Society of Alberta for making my dreams come true and for giving me this massive opportunity and platform to share my experience. Thank you to all of you there who make this conference happen every year, and for all of your hard work and dedication to ensure that more and more of us can learn about how to manage pain, how to hold pain, how to heal. I am so thankful for every connection and synchronicity that led to the moment of me being on that stage. My heart will be forever thankful. And may this be a gentle reminder that whatever dreams you have, no matter how big or how small, if you still have that dream and the desire to make them happen, I trust and believe that those dreams, that your dreams can and will come true. If you'd like to share how this landed for you, please feel free to connect with me at dksutty@yahoo.ca, danielle.sutty on Instagram, Danielle Sutty on Facebook and TikTok. You can listen to this podcast on YouTube. Thank you for listening. Listening is loving. Wishing you so much joy in your day. Until we meet again.